Good morning. It is time to start prepping for Thanksgiving, which is tomorrow. So I've got all of my dry ingredients out here on my island. Everything else is in the fridge, and I'm going to start getting things out, and we are going to get this day started. Welcome back to Harvest Moon Farm. My name is Mickey, and as I said, today we're going to do our Thanksgiving meal prep. So we're going to make our pies. We're going to go ahead and peel and boil and mash our potatoes and have those ready. We're going to make our gravy. We're going to cook our sweet potatoes so that we can fry them up tomorrow. I'm going to put together 2 pans of macaroni and cheese. I'm going to go ahead and bake one to have as a second pan for tomorrow, and then we'll bake the other pan fresh tomorrow for dinner. And there might be some other things that I'm forgetting, and we'll do those as we go along. All right, so I always start with my pies. And I just realized I didn't get any pie pans out, so let me go grab those. Okay, got my pie plates. So we're gonna make 3 pumpkin pies. We're gonna make 1 apple and 1 cherry, and then we're gonna make lemon tarts with the lemon pie filling. So I need to preheat my oven to 425, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that. And the recipe that I use uses sweetened condensed milk and not sugar and evaporated milk. That's just the recipe that I used, I don't even know how many years ago, and I prefer it to the other recipe, so that's what I use. So I'm gonna make 3 recipes, so I've got 3 bags of my pumpkin puree here, which is roughly the equivalent of 1 can of the canned pumpkin that you buy in the stores. I've had this in my refrigerator thawing for a couple of days, which it's a good thing I put it in 2 days ago and not yesterday like I had originally planned, because it's still partially frozen, but not frozen enough that I can't use it. So we're going to put this in our mixing bowl. To this, we're going to add 3 cans of our condensed milk. So I'm going to go ahead and pour this into my pumpkin. And at our previous home, for many years, our trash came on Thursdays. And then the last few years we lived there, it came on Fridays. It was nice for Thanksgiving because I could open up all of this stuff, fill it in the trash, and then our trash came on Friday, and so we didn't have all this sitting in our trash can for a week. Here, our trash comes today, and it comes usually in the morning, so it'll probably be here in the next hour. So I don't know how much of this I'm going to be able to get out to the trash. If I can, I'm going to try. That way we don't have these cans and packages and all of that just sitting for a week in our trash can. So to our pumpkin and condensed milk, now we're going to add some eggs. So we want to add 2 eggs for each recipe, so I'm going to add 6 eggs, and we want to beat them up just a little bit before we pour them in. Our eggs do come from our own chickens, as you know, so I'm going to open them into a bowl separately before I pour them in the mix that I'm going to put in the filling. I don't want to end up with that one bad egg be the very last one I open and then have to start over. So there's 1. And these eggs are smaller than a regular large egg, so I might add 1 more. So we had probably 3 large eggs and 3 small eggs. So I am going to go ahead and add 1 more of the small eggs. There we go. So I'm just going to whisk these up just a little bit with a fork. And then we'll pour them into our other mixture. Wipe up all this egg that I dripped all over the counter. So now we need our spices: cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, and salt. And I always add some additional pre-made pumpkin pie spice. I know those are all the same ingredients, that's just what I do. So we need a teaspoon for each recipe of cinnamon. So I'm going to go ahead and add 1 tablespoon. 1.5 teaspoons of ginger. Go. 1.5 teaspoons of nutmeg. Oh, that smell is starting to get me. Oh, I love it. And then I'm going to add the equivalent of a teaspoon of the pre-made pumpkin pie spice. And I've been saying this for 2 weeks now, but I really need to fill up my salt jar. And we need 1.5 teaspoons of salt. So I like to keep all my dishes done throughout this day without putting anything in the dishwasher. That way I don't, sorry, that way the dishwasher is empty for tomorrow and we can just fill it up as we go throughout the day. My dinnerware that I use for the actual meal cannot go in the dishwasher because it's got a silver coated edge. It was my mom's china, and I am going to need to warm these up just a hair. I usually do have to warm up the first 1 or 2 just a little bit. I just do about 10 or 15 seconds in the microwave. Uh-oh, this is falling apart. Uh-oh, we could have problems today. I have a sink full of water and I can hear it draining, so I must not have the plug turned the right way. But I like to keep a sink full of soapy water while I'm working, because a lot of these things I use over and over throughout the day, but also, like I said, I like to have an empty dishwasher to start the day on Thanksgiving morning. And because so many of these things get used over and over, I don't want to put them in the dishwasher. Okay, this is doing a little better. Okay, let's try this again. Much better. And I can still see the butter pieces in my dough. I'm not sure how well you can see that, but there's butter pieces inside there that is going to help make our crust nice and flaky. So for my pumpkin pies, I just roll whatever excess dough I have under. Like that. And then I use a spoon. I know that you can just use your fingers, but I always use a spoon. I get a better fluting on my edge if I use a spoon. All right, and there is one done and ready to go, or ready to be filled with the pie filling. Okay, so I gave the pumpkin another quick little mix, and I'm gonna use my spatula to stir it and just make sure we don't have anything in the bottom that's unmixed. Okay. And then I'm just going to distribute this between these 3 pans as evenly as I can. Okay, so we are going to put them in our 425-degree oven for 15 minutes. And then we're going to turn our oven down to 350 and continue cooking about 35 or 40 minutes, or until a knife in the center comes out clean. So let's get these in the oven. So the timer just went off on the oven, so I turned it down to 350 and set it for 40 minutes, but I'll be checking on it before then. So I rolled out the crust for my apple and cherry pie. The cherry filling is store-bought because I don't have any fresh or home canned or home frozen or whatever. But the apple is some pie filling that I made earlier in the year. So here's the apple pie filling, and I'm wondering if it's going to, oh, it's still partly frozen. I'm going to stick this in the microwave for just a few seconds. Actually, it's not as frozen as I thought it was, I don't think. Oh, and this is going to be way too much for one pie. So let me see about that. I like my pies to be full, but I think that might be way too full. So I think half of that is going to be fine. Get that back down there. Now I'm going to go ahead and roll out the top crust for each of these pies. All right. So I don't like there to be too much around the edges, so I'm going to just cut off a little bit right around the edge and make it kind of even as best I can. And then, just like the pumpkin, I'm gonna just roll this under and use a spoon to, well, use a spoon and my fingers to flute the edging. And I'm just gonna put some vents in here with the knife. And I'm going to use this extra dough once I put the apple pie together, and I'm going to make some little leaves and stuff to put on top. Saw a commercial for a pie place the other day, and I don't remember if it was a Kansas City location or if it was a national location that you could order online, but their pies, they were probably 6 inches tall. It was crazy. They looked beautiful, but I feel like that's more filling than I would want in my pie, because I like the mixture of crust and filling, but they looked amazing. Okay, put some vents in here, and then I'm going to roll this out and cut out a few shapes just to be decoration on the top of the pies. Okay, I found my smaller ones. Thank goodness, because I was kind of freaking out. Let's see. So I've got 3 different shapes here. I've got 2 leaves and an acorn. So I'm just going to cut a few of these out and put them on the pies. So I'm also cutting some to put on the pumpkin pies. I have always put them on the pies while they bake, and they never brown the way that I want them to. So this year I'm going to try just putting them on a cookie sheet and cooking them or baking them and then laying them on top of the pie, and we'll see how that goes. I'm going to stick this in the fridge, and then I'll use it for little cinnamon rolls or something after a while. I am going to put a little bit of an egg wash on these, and then that will help the little leaves and whatever stick to the pie. The dog is driving me bonkers today. I've already let him out. I've been up an hour, almost 2 hours, and I've let him in and out of the house probably 7 or 8 times. He's just being obnoxious. So I'm just going to set these on here in the middle, just all kind of cutesy like. Go ahead and give those a little bit of a brush with the egg wash. And then we're going to do the same with the apple pie. And then for my fruit pies like this, I like to just do a sprinkle of sugar, just a little bit. And then the little pieces that I'm going to use for the pumpkin pies, I'm going to put on this little sheet, give them a little egg wash brush, and then I'll bake them probably for a few minutes when I bake these other 2 pies. Okay, so this stuff is just gonna go to the side until the pumpkin pies are done and I can reset the temperature and get these other pies in the oven. Alrighty, so the next thing that we're gonna start on is the lemon tarts. And I've been going back and forth in my head all morning whether I want to make them in the little tart pan and just put the filling in the top of them, or if I want to make tarts where they've got a top and a bottom, and I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to get these crusts ready. So I went ahead and put my stand mixer away because I don't think I'm going to need it for anything now until tomorrow when I make the whipped cream. I got my 3-inch biscuit cutter and I'm just going to cut some circles out. As many as I can get out of this piece of dough. And then I'm going to put a piece of parchment paper on my baking sheet and I'm just going to start laying these out. Oops. The dog is staring at me. He wants out again. He literally just came in like 3 minutes ago. Oops. I don't get as many when I do them this way, but that's okay. I think if I squish, I can get 18 of them. 2, 4, oh, I do have 18. Okay, that's good. All right, so we'll set this here and let it start warming up a little bit. And then we're gonna go ahead and drop the filling in these. Well, let me go ahead and roll this out first. Get 4 more out of this so that I can have 18. All right, so I've got my small cookie scoop. I found that this is just about the right amount. And I'm just going to drop a little scoop right in the center of each of these little discs. And I did buy some store-bought pie crust. So if I decide that this isn't going to be enough, because one of my sisters really loves these, and so do I. So if I think this 18 is not going to be enough for the number of people we're going to have, I can go ahead and make a batch with some store-bought pie dough. And I may actually go ahead and do that. But for now, we're going to go ahead and get these made, or put together anyway. I like lemon meringue pies, but they're really the best the very first day you cut into it, because after that, you guys know how like a lemon pie will get kind of watery and nobody will eat it then. These, though, everybody will just snack on all day. I've got my egg wash, and I'm just going to kind of put it just right around the edges so that that will help the top stick. The timer's about to go off on our pumpkin pie, so I can take a look at those and see if they are done or if they need a few more minutes. they are not done. The, what am I trying to say? The center is still pretty wiggly. So I'm going to take the tops and roll them out just a hair now that I've got them cut out. So they're a little bit bigger than the bottom so that I can lay it over the filling and still have the crust edges match. And then we're going to take a fork and kind of smash down the edges a little bit and crimp them so that they hopefully will stay together when they bake. No promises, because it doesn't always work, but that's okay. They are always still delicious. You really just barely have to press on this when you roll it to get it to be the size that you want. I mean, I'm just really barely touching it, and it's rolling out just enough to cover that bottom piece plus the little lump of filling. So I'm going to take a fork and I'm going to just kind of crimp around the edges. Well, but it's kind of hard to get to now that it's on the pan, but we will do the best we can. We just want to kind of smash it down so that that egg wash will work to help it stay together. I usually have some with the filling drizzling out a little bit, and that's fine too. My paper keeps sliding. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm going to do this so I don't have the edges of the pan in my way, and then I'll just slide this back on. And then we'll do the same with those 6 on the other pan, and I still have about a half a can of pie filling left, so I think I will go ahead and also make some with the store-bought dough. That way we'll have plenty and I won't have a half a can of filling just sitting. All right, there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and make another batch, get those filled and ready, and we'll be able to start getting some more stuff in the oven once our pumpkin pies are finished. Pumpkin pies are finally done. They took longer than the recipe said, but I'm pretty sure I remember last year they did that as well because the pumpkin is not the store-bought canned pumpkin puree. It was my own. Oh, this is sticking. Come on. There we go. So I think it was a little more watery. Even though I tried to get it as thick as I could, it was a little more watery than a store-bought can of pumpkin. So they are done though. They look delicious. They smell delicious. So they are on cooling racks right now. I ended up with 33 little lemon tarts. So I think that's better than the 18 I started with. And now I'm just making the little pie dough cinnamon roll snack things. We always have them every year, so I just used one of the rolls of store-bought pie dough, and I'm going to use that to make my little rolls. My mom, when we were growing up, of course, she always used butter, but I now use the butter spray. I tear up my pie dough much less that way. Let's see, where's my cinnamon? So I'm just going to make us up some cinnamon sugar. And I'm not going to measure, I just kind of pour and shake. Whoa, definitely not that much. Let's pour some back in. Maybe that's a good reason to use a spoon. So my apple and cherry pies, oh shoot, I forgot that. My apple and cherry pies are in the oven right now. I'm gonna pour some sugar in here, and then I'll give it a good shake. And then we'll sprinkle it on our dough here. Hunk of sugar that's clumped up. There we go. So now I'm just going to roll this up. Maybe if I can get a hold of it. There we go. Just going to roll this into a couple of rolls like that. Uh-oh. I'm going to put some parchment paper on here, and then I'm just going to cut this in little cinnamon roll pieces. Did you guys do this growing up? Even after I was an adult, to me this is one of my favorite parts about getting ready for Thanksgiving, is making these little roll-ups. And I'm just gonna, I don't usually worry about leaving them in rolls. I just kind of fling them out there. And I'll roll up this other piece and get it cut up and on the pan. And then that will be all of the dough and baking things that I have to worry about, so then I can clean up the counter and get ready to move on to the next thing as these pies and things all finish up in the oven. Okay, pumpkin pies are out of the oven, cooled, and on their little tray over on my buffet. The apple and the pumpkin pie are both in the oven. So I've got the lemon tarts, our little cinnamon roll thingies, and then the little leaf toppers for the pumpkin pies waiting to go in. So, oops, I just spilled salt everywhere. So I'm going to go ahead and start working on the macaroni and cheese. So I've got the water on to boil, and then I'm going to start the pasta, and then we're going to follow. I've got a new recipe that I want to try for mac and cheese this year, so we're going to use that. The instructions say to cook the pasta 1 minute shy of al dente. So this says 9 to 11 minutes, so I'm going to cook it about 8 minutes or so once we've got it all boiling and ready to go. Okay, pasta water is ready. So I'm putting 2 pounds of just regular elbow macaroni in here. Oh, so I did burn, but the tops of the apple and cherry pie are a little bit brown, but they are not quite done. So I moved them down to the lower rack on my oven, and we'll let them finish out their cooking time. Actually, what I should do is lay some foil over the top of them. So as soon as I get this so that the pasta's not sticking to the bottom, and I'm going to lay a sheet of foil over the top of each of these pies so that it doesn't get any browner. Got busy talking on the phone and didn't pay attention to my pies well enough. But they're not burned to a crisp, thank goodness, because I'd be very sad. So we can go ahead and get these in, and we'll let them finish baking. Pasta's got about 6 more minutes. Kind of lined up perfectly with the time left on these pies. Alright, the pasta's done. I'm gonna give the pies 10 more minutes. And so now we're gonna go ahead and drain this pasta. So now we're going to take our drained pasta and we're going to dump it in a bowl. We want to add about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And we're just going to stir this around so our pasta does not end up sticking together. And then we're just going to set this to the side to cool. And now we're going to go ahead and start on our cheese sauce. So we want to put 1.5 sticks or 12 tablespoons of butter. This does call for unsalted. I always buy salted. That's what I'm going to use. And we're going to get that melting. Once our butter's melted, we're going to add 2/3 cup flour, and we're going to whisk that in. And we're going to cook it about a minute or so until it's nice and bubbly. So there's 1/3. I'm going to go ahead and whisk it in, and then I'll get the other. Go ahead and whisk this other 1/3 cup of flour in. And after a minute or so of cooking, we're going to add in 6 cups of milk and 2 cups of heavy whipping cream. So there's 4 cups of milk. So I'm going to go ahead and pour the other 2. Go ahead and add this other 2 cups of milk, and then I'll get the pies out of the oven, and then we'll add our cream. I'm glad I have these on pans because the butter in the crust melted and dripped. So let's get some tarts in the oven. There we go. I'm going to set these for 10 minutes, even though I know that's not long enough. I just want to make sure I don't forget about them. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and pour in our 2 cups of cream. So we're going to keep stirring this over the heat until we start to see bubbles. And then we're going to cook it for another 2 minutes. Once we see the bubbles, and then we're going to add some salt and pepper. So this recipe calls for, I don't know how to pronounce this, Gruyere, G-R-U-Y-E-R-E, however you pronounce that. But my local grocery stores did not carry it, so I have sharp cheddar, which it does call for, and some Colby Jack. So, it'll be fine. So my husband called me a little bit ago to tell me that he'd invited somebody that he works with for Thanksgiving dinner tomorrow. This guy, I think he's divorced. He doesn't have any family in the area. So of course I don't mind. I was just laughing because his name is Josh. So we're going to have 3 Joshes here tomorrow. My husband's friend, our son, and my niece's boyfriend. So that's going to be interesting to see how many people answer when somebody says Josh. Alright, I'm going to go ahead now and put in some salt and pepper. And it just says salt and pepper to taste, so I'm just going to sprinkle some in there. We're going to go ahead and whisk this in. And now we're going to start mixing in our cheese. So the recipe called, we need 8 cups of sharp cheddar, and we want to add it about 2 cups at a time. I'm not going to measure it. I'm just going to use my hand. That's about 2 cups. And then we want to whisk this in until it's melted and smooth. And then we'll add the next 2 cups, mix it, and so on. So how many of you guys do Black Friday shopping? We have done it for a number of years now. Since our youngest was maybe 2 or 3, let's see, 2. Oh, gotta check these tarts. They still need more time, so we'll give them another 10 minutes. I figured they would, but anyway, so we started doing it when I think Hannah was 2, the Christmas that she was 2, so she really was almost 3. And that was the first year that we hosted Thanksgiving at our house. And so my mother-in-law, they took her home and had her spend the night so we could get up early and go. That was before Black Friday had moved to Thanksgiving. And then, of course, now it's moved back again where it should have always been. But we got up at 3 o'clock after going to bed super late. And, of course, we were both exhausted. And we shopped all day, and it was so fun. So, we still like to do the shopping. We never are going, well, I shouldn't say never. We very rarely are looking for something specific. And under normal conditions, I hate to shop with tons of people in the store. The crowds drive me crazy. But Black Friday shopping is different for me for some reason. I really enjoy it. So we always do that. Oh, this cheese sauce is getting so nice and thick. It looks delicious. And actually, before I put any more cheese in here, I'm going to give a little taste and see if we need any more salt or pepper. Oh my gosh, can you guys, oops, I'm not holding it low enough. You guys see that? Oh. I think it needs a little more pepper, but that's delicious. All right, so now we need our 4 cups of, in our case, we're using Colby Jack, but if you had the Gruyere, or however you pronounce that, this is when you would put it in. Actually, I just read the instructions and I did this wrong, but that's okay. We actually were supposed to put half of the cheese between layers of macaroni, but too late now, and I'm just going to do it like this. Alright, so we're going to stir and melt in this last 2 cups-ish of cheese. And then we're going to pour the sauce into the bowl with our pasta and mix it all together. Oh, look how thick that is. I hope I can get it out of the pan and stir it into the pasta. So we're going to pour our cheese sauce over our pasta. Oh, I thought it would stick. It came out really nicely. I'm gonna stir this pasta and cheese sauce all up. Hopefully I don't splash it all over the place in the process. Just want to make sure that I don't have any pasta at the bottom that's not stirred into this sauce, which is a little bit, but I think I've got most of it. So we're gonna go ahead and spray the bottoms of our pan, and then we're gonna divide this big old bowl of mac and cheese between these two pans. Oh, this is really heavy. All right, so now we're going to mix up 3 cups of breadcrumbs. It says panko, I just have regular. 8 tablespoons or 1 stick of melted butter, a cup of Parmesan cheese, and a half a teaspoon of smoked paprika. So there's our smoked paprika. And I think I said a half a cup, but we need a cup. There we go. And we're going to pour this into our breadcrumb and cheese mixture. We're going to stir it all together, and then we're going to top each one of these pans with half of this mixture. All right, there we go. Those look good. So once this other pan of tarts comes out of the oven, I'm gonna go ahead and bake one of these. The other one I'm gonna put the lid on and go stick in my downstairs refrigerator, and then we will bake that one tomorrow when we're prepping everything for the actual meal, and then we'll have this leftover pan of mac and cheese so people can take some home if they want. So this is gonna go in a 350-degree oven for 30 minutes or so. I was going to use this lid, but it's so tall. I'm just going to cover this with foil. So I'll cover this pan with a sheet of foil, and then I'll write on there the temperature and the baking time. If you think I'd remember from today till tomorrow, but I know that I probably won't. So here in a minute I will take that down to my basement fridge. So I took a little bit of time to clean some of this up. I put away the dishes I did earlier. I washed the next set of dishes, and the mac and cheese has about 10 more minutes. So I'm going to start putting together my green rice, which is what we always call it, broccoli rice casserole. So I've got a can or a jar of cream of celery that we made together, and I'm looking for, here we go. I'm gonna add I don't know how much that is. This is the way my mom always did it, and that's how I do it. She always just measured 1 can of rice out from after she used the cream soup, although I might need a little bit more because we're going to have, like I said, a bigger crowd this year. I'm just going to sprinkle, maybe if I can get it to come out, a little more rice in there. And I have some pre-chopped celery that I had in my freezer. I can get the bag open, here we go. So I'm gonna add a couple little handfuls of that. And I've got some chopped onion that I had in my freezer. And I'm gonna add about, this is a 2-cup package. I'm gonna add about half. That's probably all I need in that. And then I add 1 jar of Cheese Whiz. I have the store brand here. I'm gonna get this out and in here. Then I'm gonna put this in the microwave until I can kind of mix it together. Sometimes I mix this in a bowl first, and I forgot today until just the second when I said it. So I'm gonna put this in the microwave. Wait a minute. I'm gonna add my broccoli first. I probably told you guys this story last year, but one year before I got married, my boys were little, and we lived in a little duplex, and I was hosting Thanksgiving or Christmas, probably Thanksgiving, and I made the green rice. We were sitting down to eat, and one of my sisters said, "This is really, really cheesy." Of course, I immediately got defensive, and I said, "Well, I like it cheesy, blah, 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 whatever." Turns out, I forgot to add the broccoli, which is why it was so cheesy. Not only did I forget to add it, but apparently I never even bought it, so we couldn't add it to the dish. So we had cheesy rice and no broccoli. So that's always kind of an amusing story. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the microwave just until I can kind of stir everything together. I've got the last of the, oh, this one is okay. The last of the tarts here coming out of the oven. So the ones that I made with store-bought dough, I can pick up like this. The ones that I made with my homemade dough are so flaky, they're trying to fall apart, which I'm so excited, I can't wait to try them. And then anything that I have extra, so this cream of chicken with herbs soup that I bought is for the green bean casserole, but I bought one for now and one for Christmas because I can't always find this at my Walmart. I have an extra can of lemon pie filling. I'll have a few other things. I'm just gonna go add to my basement storage, and then I'll be able to use it at Christmas time or whenever. I always forget that the microwave that was in this house when we bought it is smaller, is smaller than the microwave that I had at my last house. And so this pan barely fits in it. This smells good, the onion, the celery, cheese, oh my gosh. Might be able to add, well, I'm gonna put it in the microwave for another couple minutes and get it all stirred up, and I may be able to add a little bit more rice. So I think I can add a little more rice. Just wanna make sure that we have plenty. For everybody who's gonna be here. It's been so many years since I cooked for the bigger crowd that I don't want to not have enough. I'd much rather have too much. People can take it home with them. And there is the mac and cheese. So let me just get this all spread out. So now this I'll just cover with foil and put in the fridge until tomorrow. I don't want to cook this one too long because I don't want it to burn when we reheat it. But I might cook the one tomorrow, maybe 10 extra minutes so that it's nice and bubbly. Okay. Next, we're gonna, that lid came off way too easy, so I'm gonna grab another jar. That other jar of green beans might be okay, but I have plenty. There's no sense taking a chance. It can just go in the compost. All right, so to my green beans, I'm gonna add this can of cream of chicken and herb. And then as much of this cream of celery that I need to make it, actually I think I'm gonna need it all, to make it all nice and mixed up. Need a bigger spoon to stir this all up. I know some people don't like string bean casserole. I love it. So we have it every year. We usually have quite a bit left over, and some of it ends up going to the compost, but that's okay. We will have a lot more people this year too. So I'm going to use, roughly half of this canister of fried onions, and I'm going to stir it in. And then tomorrow, before I stick it in the oven, I'll top it with the rest. And I know that was very simple and I could have done this tomorrow, but really anything I can get done today that will make tomorrow less busy and less, I don't really want to say stressful, because it's not stressful. I just like to have time to spend with my family that are here during the day and not have to spend quite so much time in the kitchen. Okay, so I'm going to set this on a paper towel because just like the others, the butter melted from the edge of the crust and dripped off. So I'm going to set it on the paper towel and let it kind of soak up what's on the bottom of that pan or that dish. All right, I think the only things that I have left now are to make up the potatoes and the gravy. My stomach is growling, so I'm going to take a little break and have some lunch, and I'll be back in a little bit and we'll get everything finished up. I took a little break and ate some lunch, and now I am going to start peeling the potatoes. So I'm going to start with the sweet potatoes. So I'm just going to get some water in this and get them on the stove to start cooking. Okay, while the sweet potatoes cook, I'm going to start peeling the regular potatoes. Woo! We have 20 pounds of regular potatoes, which thankfully are easier to peel and cut than the sweet potatoes. So I'm going to get these all peeled, cut up. I'm going to put them in this bowl, and I'll see how many, like what size pan I think I'm going to need. I'm probably going to need 2. I'm probably going to use the one that the sweet potatoes are in, and also my grandma's big gardenware pot. That should hold everything, I think. So I'll wait and see how it looks and see if that's going to work, and I might have to go find something else. So the smaller pan of potatoes, they are done. So I always use, well, I found this, steamed in my face. I came across this, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, and this is the best way for me to get really creamy mashed potatoes. So I'm going to start by just kind of stirring them up with this. It's kind of like a potato ricer that's electric. And I'm going to go ahead and add some butter, some cream cheese to this batch, and then I'll add the rest of it when that pan is done. It's taking quite a bit longer. It's a lot more full. I'm going to keep it in this bowl, and we'll start warming it tomorrow and put it in a crock pot so that it stays hot. And then we can add to it as we need to. All right, the rest of the potatoes, they're getting there, so we're gonna go ahead and let those cook a few more minutes. I'm gonna wash up a few of these dishes while I wait. Gonna have to get some of this stirred down before I can add the rest of the potatoes. Once I get this all mixed down a little bit, then I can start adding some milk. I want to make sure that the butter and cream cheese gets pretty well melted in there. Let's add a little milk. A little more salt. All right, let's give this a little taste. Need more salt. I'm gonna add some more milk. Still pretty thick. Clean spoon. Let's give them another taste. There we go. Ooh, yummy. I might add just a little more salt. This is a lot of potatoes. I'm gonna get one more spoonful and see how they taste. Yeah, that last bit of salt was perfect. So this bottom piece, as you could see earlier where it was coming off, comes off, and I can just wash this. And I'll just wipe this down really well. Let me unplug it. So I can just wipe all the potato off of this as best I can. And then I'll wash the little masher piece that attaches. And then it can all go back in the box until Christmas. Ooh, there we go. So I'm just gonna set a lid on top of this, and I'm just gonna set it over here and let it cool. And once they are cool, pretty cool, then I can go ahead and stick them in the refrigerator until tomorrow. Alrighty, so we are starting on our gravy now. So we're gonna melt 2/3 of a cup of butter. And then we're gonna add 2/3 of a cup of flour to that and whisk it in. And we're gonna add 2/3 of a cup of flour. And we are going to whisk that in. We want to let that cook for about a minute or two. And then I'm going to stir in 6 cups of turkey or chicken stock. You just want to whisk that in as you go. So there was 2 cups. And 6. Now I always forget to do this, but we were supposed to reserve some of the potato water. I forgot, so we're just going to add some water. But if you remember to save your potato water, that will help thicken up your gravy. But I forgot today, like I almost always do. It will still be good. We're going to bring this to a boil, and then we're going to turn it down and let it simmer for 10 minutes. All right, so this is boiling now. We're going to turn it down to low. And we're going to let it simmer for 10 minutes. The last thing that we're going to make today is our cookies. I thought about making the deviled eggs today. I usually do it on Thanksgiving morning. I thought about doing it today, but I'm getting really tired, so I think we'll make these cookies the last of it for tonight. And then I'll finish cleaning up one last time, and I'll have everything ready to start first thing in the morning. We always eat around noon-ish, so I get up and start my turkey about 5:30. I want it to go into the oven about 5:30 because we always have a really big turkey. I think the turkey is right at 20 pounds or pretty close. Okay, so I just have these leaves and acorn shapes, and I'm just gonna cut a bunch out. Whoops. Put them on my parchment paper there. Now this dough, this store-bought dough, if you guys have ever bought it and tried to roll it out, you know it doesn't really hold its shape very well, but that's okay. They are delicious, especially once you cover them with frosting. And I bought 2 packages of cookie dough, but I think I'm just gonna do 1. Nobody's gonna be hurting for sweets tomorrow. So if I don't have a bajillion cookies, that's fine. And our gravy, the 10 minutes is almost up. Well, I probably should preheat the oven for these. We'll make it a little easier to bake them, huh? Alrighty. Let's move back to our gravy and get it finished up. Alright, so the timer's going off on our gravy. I'm going to turn the heat off, give that a little whisk. And now we're going to add in some salt and pepper. And the recipe calls for dry sherry. I do not have any, so sometimes I use just whatever white wine I have on hand. Today I'm going to use some white cooking wine. I could not get that bottle of cooking wine open, so I just went downstairs and got some wine. And we just want to add 4 teaspoons, or just a little over a tablespoon. That looks good. So now I'm just going to whisk all this in. And then I'm going to get a spoon and give it a taste and see if we need more salt or pepper. Oh, it smells so good. It tastes good too. Does need more salt. So I'm going to go ahead and let all that gravy cool. Once it's cool, I'm going to put it in a container and put it in the refrigerator, and then we'll warm it up tomorrow when we're ready to eat. Okay, I think we are almost done for today. So I've got the second batch of cookies in the oven, but here's what happened to the little acorns. They kind of spread. That's fine. So I don't know if I'll frost those tonight or frost them tomorrow morning. I'm not sure. But tomorrow morning, I'm going to take just some white frosting and drizzle on our lemon tarts. I will start the turkey roasting, of course, and I'll make our deviled eggs. I'm going to make homemade whipped cream for our pies, and I think everything else then will mostly be just heating it up, other than the sweet potatoes, which we will fry those, and the mac and cheese will have to bake in the oven. But everything else, for the most part, everything is done. So I'm really looking forward to tomorrow. I hope that you guys are looking forward to Thanksgiving as well. I hope that it goes however you want it to go. Lots of family, little bit of family, to a restaurant, whatever makes you happy. I hope that that's the way your Thanksgiving is. And so I just want to thank you guys for watching this, and I will see you on the next video. Thanks, guys.